How did this happen? 3 years visa, 3 years COS, revoked, cancelled, taken away after you have arrived in UK. So guys, honestly, this should not happen to anyone. It shouldn't even happen to our enemy, talk more of to anyone that we know, because it is absolutely devastating. I cried for these people myself when I heard this story. I shedded tears. I ran to my husband. I told him what I've been told. And he felt really sorry. Because it's a whole lot. When you have finally passed an interview, you go through the visa application processes. When I left Nigeria, when I was about leaving Nigeria, I sold my car. The car that I have just had for less than 2 years. I sold almost all our properties and I dashed out all my wedding, all the gifts I got during my wedding, I gave them out. Now, these people might have done the same because they are husband and wife. They arrived here planning to bring in their children around January or December time, like they said then. How did this happen? 3 years visa, 3 years COS, revoked, cancelled, taken away after you have arrived in UK. Now, this person came to my inbox on IG. The person wrote if he should have my contact. I don't give out my phone number to people, but when I checked through my previous conversation with this very person, I found out that I've been communicating with this person, especially giving out my clarification letter to them, statement letter for my child, because I promised giving out to a lot of people who have been given through my IG, and the person said they are already in the UK. Okay, can you spare me your number? That this is beyond something he should be talking to me by writing. I asked him to drop his number. So I chose to call him. When I called, this man was totally crying. Imagine a man crying. That he just came the last weekend and he went to, I think that was on Tuesday or thereabout, that he went to work to resume his work on Monday, and they handed a letter over to him. Don't mind the sunshine, British sunshine can be epileptic, So they handed this letter over to him, and the content of the letter suggests that his COS has been revoked, 3 years visa cancelled, and they had 50-something days to leave the country. Me, I was even crying myself hearing such, because this person is in accounting field, and I tried to ask, what was the reason? Because they should state the reason for this cancellation in your letter. He said they didn't state the reason, which was quite complicated for me to digest, because in any case, they should have at least stated the reasons. But basically, I should say that it might not be his fault. Possibly the company's license got revoked, because the Home Office can revoke a company's license, especially when they breach the rules and regulations set out by the Home Office, when they are unable to meet certain requirements, when they employ illegal workers from overseas, people who are not qualified for the job. I will be making reference to Pauline Popo's Mayo video this morning, about 27 healthcare assistants, foreign healthcare assistants who arrived this country and their visa got revoked. She also brought an employer speaking on this, an employer whose license to employ from overseas got revoked. So this person's case is a different one. Why I'm sharing this is because it is a first-hand information I got. I have reached out to these people 2 or 3 times because they were asking if I could help them find a job. But I tell you what, it is a difficult task. Only by God's grace will they find an alternative in this country within such short period of time. There are 2 things here. If your sponsorship license is revoked and you, the employee, is directly involved as to the reasons why your COS is revoked or cancelled, you are expected to leave the country immediately. But then, if you are not directly involved, the reasons or the fault was from your employer, maybe your employer got suspended or their license got revoked by the Home Office. Then you will be given, you the employee that is working for that employer, will be given 60 days, that's 2 months. Assuming that you've worked for like 2 weeks, 60 minus 2 weeks, about 48 days remaining for you to leave the country. You see to that, because your employer, it was the fault of your employer, not directly yours. And it is difficult. It might be difficult for you to find another job within that short space of time, because you also need a reference letter from that employer that the license got revoked. And will they give you reference? Which employer would want to accept a reference from such a person whose license was revoked because the person breached the rules of the Home Office? It is a difficult task. Now, making reference to Pauline Popo's video this morning, because that prompted me making this very video. 27 healthcare assistants from overseas here in the UK got their COS revoked for certain reasons. Before this revocation happened, according to the employer that employed them, that employer that appeared, you might want to check out Pauline Popo's video. You might want to check out her video. That employer that spoke, she is a black from one of these African countries, I wouldn't know where. She mentioned that they interviewed some of her employers. One, they interviewed a nurse, someone who was a senior nurse in Africa. Now you are working here. They came to interview you. You are now working as a healthcare assistant. Do you know that, oh my God, a senior nurse or a nurse is higher than a healthcare assistant? Now you abandon that job in Africa to come here and be working as a healthcare assistant. Now, when you were asked, why did you leave that higher position to a lower one? They said what this nurse responded was that she wanted a more challenging work environment. Now, is the work of a nurse not more challenging than that of a healthcare assistant? A healthcare assistant mostly do not do medication. Sometimes you don't even do paperwork, but nurses, they do more than this. So why would you respond in that way? This did not go well with the Home Office, those they sent to scrutinize these people. I need you to watch Pauline Popo's video, please, because she mentioned 2 online training providers people are using, paying to train to get healthcare certificates. She said these people are not approved. And some other sites they interviewed, they put in their CV that they've done this training for a period of 3 months. Good and fine. But their CV says they have been working as a healthcare assistant for a period of 6 to 1 year, which does not tally. You just trained for 3 months, and you have been working as a healthcare assistant for 1 year, 6 months. That doesn't make sense. They also interviewed someone who has been a teacher in Africa, currently working as a healthcare assistant here. You have all your life, you've been a teacher, from your CV. So where did you get the experience to work as a healthcare assistant in this country? You haven't got experience. You should be in the teaching field and not in the health sector. So when you lie, you make sure that your lie is tally. But most importantly, endeavor to gain experience in health. All they want to see is the experience you have gathered, not about all these trainings you pay to do. Endeavor not to cook up your CV. Don't make up stories that do not tally, something that you cannot defend. Recently, I was on a telephone conversation with an old friend of mine. We studied together. He's currently in Bolton, close to Manchester. I called him. We started talking about how these healthcare assistants come here. This man mentioned to me that somebody told him that there's an agency collecting £10,000 from people from Africa. You pay £10,000. You know how much £10,000 is? Then they would bring you over, get you started as a healthcare assistant, and you work for them for 5 long years. That not only withstanding, you'll be doing 58 hours, more than the required hours of shifts you are expected to be doing. This is just slavery mentality. Africans, enslaving others. which is very wrong. You are not expected to pay anybody to get you a job in this country. My husband came into this country as a health worker. ID Medical helped him to get his job. They never ever asked him for a dime. The company has to pay for the COS. Only thing you are expected to pay is the money for your visa fee. If you are expected to pay health surcharge, but if you are coming in as a healthcare worker, you are not expected to, And then another thing that might lead to you getting your visa or your COS revoked is when you provide false information, just like in one of the videos Tochi shared about somebody who claimed that he could drive. On coming here, they get, as in, you ticked in your application that you can drive. On getting here, they gave you a car, you begin to speak in tongues that you cannot do it. Almost everybody can drive in my country back home, but does everyone who drives has the license to drive? No. If you don't have a license, if you don't have a driver's license, it means you cannot drive. Do not claim, do not lie that you can. Ensure that everything you put in your CV, especially the dates, date of birth, date of marriage, date you started working, date you get this qualification, your degree certificate, your head, whatever, ensure that the dates, they tally. Because they have numbers where they could check all these things with your school. And whereby they found any information false, that means they will take the necessary action. They can revoke your license to practice in this country or to work in this country. And they will send you this polite letter. So please, instead of you going online to get all these trainings, you pay. Somebody told me oh my God, I wish you're watching this video. She is paying $250,000 to do a healthcare training, certificate training that Florence in this country do for people for free of charge. She's paying in Lagos. People are using this opportunity to make people dry, opening all these centers. And she mentioned that the husband paid around 300 and something to do this certificate training that you can go online. Please download the Florence app in your app store. Florence Academy, check them up on Google. They offer this training for free. They don't ask you for, as you finish training yourself online, you are printing your own certificate or you download it. They don't ask you for money for all these things. How can somebody pay 250, 300 and something thousand to do all this training in Nigeria? Now they have started investigating a lot of employers of healthcare workers, especially, I cannot say especially Africans, because not only Africans that do some of these mischievous things in the UK. Some of Asian employers, they do this as well. I doubt a white person can do this. Sorry, I am not discriminating, but I'm telling you the truth. I doubt they can charge you for any money for this because they know the rule here. They keep to the law. Because once you breach it, it's either the company gets shut down, they take the license away from them to employ anybody, or they suspend them depending on the level of offense they committed. So please be careful what you do. Better go to a hospital, volunteer. If they're not ready to pay you, volunteer with them. Go to a pharmacy shop if it is a big one. Go to a laboratory offices. There are a lot of them back home. Go there and work for them for a period of 6 months, 3 months, 1 year, as the case may be. Put it in your CV. That's enough. Because they will check your background. Not you have been a farmer for a long time. Now you want to come and do the job of a healthcare assistant. You've been a teacher for a long time. You are switching to do. It does not work. You have been a maths teacher. You are coming here to take up a healthcare assistant. It doesn't make sense. By the time they start scrutinizing people, investigating all this, they might fish you out. This is not a country whereby someone who is an engineer could take up a position of a newscaster. No, you must train in that field for you to occupy that position. They don't bring a math teacher to teach English. They don't bring an English teacher to teach social sciences. You must train in that field. This is why you need this job experience. You need a background before you can take up this role. So please do your, I don't know, because these 27 healthcare assistants now that got their visas revoked and are expected to leave the country within 60 days. 60 days, assuming that they've been working already for like 1 month, that means the person has just 1 month to leave. Or they have been working for like a month and 2 weeks. They have 2 weeks to leave the country or 2 weeks to find another job. How will they do the magic? It is not possible. It is entirely not possible. So please, let's watch these things. I don't like this happening. It is really sad.